Hello, everyone, and welcome to Art Equals Life. I'm your host, JT Dubs.
I'm Higgs.
And we are joined once again by Beth, our reoccurring guest host. How you doing today, Beth?
I'm doing great. I'm here, whenever we have to talk about some, elevated sci-fi.
That is true. That does seem to be your theme.
You're the go-to person when it comes to Star Wars for adults.
Star Wars for adults, but not Star Wars for babies.
Not Star Wars, how Lucas intended it to be, circa 1999.
Oh, yeah. Jar Jar definitely was meant for adults. I don't know what you're talking about.
I had this toy that was, I can't remember if it was a wind-up toy, but it was definitely some kid's meal, where if you wound him up, his legs would, click together multiple times.
Have you ever seen that, it's like a push pop, but it was basically Jar Jar Binks' mouth, and you would suck on his tongue like it was a lollipop?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay.
It's an interesting choice, They made a choice and they committed to it, so you gotta give them props for that.
Woo, Misa gonna give you a kiss!
I hate everything about that.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's something else, all right.
But we're not talking about that baby shit today.
I was trying to think, what's that disease people get from kissing?
Mono?
Mono, yeah. So Jar Jar's like, Misa gonna give you mono.
Kissy. Well, have you seen Clone Wars, the show?
Jar Jar gives someone mono in Clone Wars?
Jar Jar
Close.
gets some in Clone Wars.
What?
Yeah, I think it's the second to last season. There's this princess or queen somewhere, and he absolutely makes out with her.
And it's definitely implied they have a thing going on.
But they call it meditation.
The problem is I have not finished Clone Wars, so genuinely, you might be making this up, and I would have no idea.
She's not.
Well, what I've given you is something to look forward to when you get back to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to finish Clone Wars, to be honest. That's just too many episodes.
I mean, that's fair.
It took me long enough to get through Andor, and Andor is, short as hell.
I do recommend, if nothing else, skip to the very last season, because it is pretty
I saw
dope.
the last season when that came out.
So, fun fact, I don't know where I found this. I found this online a few years ago, but somebody had spliced episode 3 with the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, because those last 4 episodes take place during the events of that film. And so someone basically dropped, certain clips from different episodes from that arc into episode 3. And it's basically episode 3 expanded edition. So it's every now and then you'll see it in live action, and then it, kind of jumps from Clone Wars. And it's jarring, but, I don't know, I love the fact that I have it.
It's like you're watching a movie, and then all of a sudden, part of the way through the movie, it just becomes animated.
Basically.
Yeah, I did see that they did that. That's pretty cool. It's definitely, one of the better ways to watch it if you're trying to, complete the whole universe and all that. And speaking of universes, it is time for today's question of the day.
You've got a question, we've got the answer. The question of the day.
So today's question of the day is, which fictional universe from pop culture would you want to live in and why?
Ooh, would you want to live in? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah, live in.
Because I thought the question was going to be, what's your, just favorite universe? But when it comes to living in, that's a tough one.
Yeah, because it can't just be oh, that's the coolest one, but would also be hell to live in, so.
Yeah, because, the Hunger Games universe could be your favorite universe, but you definitely don't want to live in it.
We already live in it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, when it comes to conflict, that makes it a very difficult question, because I would love to be able to live in the Avatar universe and be able to bend the elements. But, as we know with the announcement of the next show, things just don't turn out great.
I guess that's just how, stories and conflicts have to go, And I guess real life is like that, too. There's very rarely just, a period of actual, just, complete peace and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess mine would be Narnia.
Hey.
And here's my reason. Sure, there's a few battles that you have to deal with every now and then. Sure, sometimes there's this witch that turns people into stone. But by and large, the Narnia universe is pretty chill and non-hostile.
And you get to meet God.
That is true. Liam Neeson.
Well, what's interesting about Narnia is it's parallel with our current universe. So you could just say, I want to live in the Narnia world, and you can continue living life theoretically as you are now, but just have a way of getting to Narnia. Like our closet over there could become a portal and you could just pop in there.
Oh, straight up, when I was a little kid, I used to, like, walk through my closet and be like, where's Narnia?
I think everybody did that. Wait, in Narnia, can't you, like, go there and then not age, and then you come back and you're, like, the same age you were when you left?
Yeah, that's how the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe goes.
Yeah, they basically are adults that have lived lives ruling over the kingdom by the time they get thrown back into current events, which is told even crazier in the other books. The movies never got to it, but I don't want to spoil the last battle, but some of the characters didn't process Narnia like others. Yeah.
I couldn't get past Horse and His Boy.
I had to reread Horse and His Boy to appreciate it, and I really liked it. Voyage of the Dawn Treader was my favorite, though, just because it was a pure fantasy adventure story.
One of these days I'll finish The Horse and His Boy. It's just, I don't like the ones that don't have to do with the Pevensey family.
The Pevensies are in A Horse and His Boy.
Tangentially.
Well, yeah, they're just...
Okay, that sentence is hilarious.
Yeah, they are briefly in...
The Pevensies are in The Horse and His Boy.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, I gotta say something. That's too wild to pass up. Well, next time, like, if anybody ever calls you an old soul, which is like kind of a backhanded compliment in my opinion. If anyone ever calls you that, just say, "Oh, well, I went to Narnia and grew up, so I'm actually like 30 years older than I said I am."
I like that, actually.
Boom.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, "What in the hell is Narnia?"
No. Well, by then we'll have Greta Gerwig's was it Netflix films that she's doing?
Is she?
I was excited until I found out that it was a Netflix film.
Yeah. Well, apparently she is not happy with her original deal either.
All I know about her is she's the one that got Andrew Tate arrested, so like regardless of anything else political, I must say, like, I got to give her credit for that.
She got Andrew Tate arrested?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he was like, they were in like a tweet war, I think, and he had, like, tweeted a picture of himself, and there was like a pizza box in the background in Romania, and like the cops were able to like track down his exact location based on like the address of like the pizza place that he had gone to or whatever.
Okay, I heard the pizza box story. I didn't realize that was Greta Gerwig.
Yeah, same.
Oh wait, no, maybe that's not the right one. Who's the environmental girl?
You're thinking Greta Thunberg.
Dude, okay, maybe I am an old soul because I just brain farted on that one.
We were talking about the director of Barbie.
Oh yeah, well, she's cool too.
Wait, did you think Greta Thunberg was directing Narnia for Netflix?
I thought you meant it was like a documentary about Greta Thunberg or something.
No.
I just heard Greta, and yeah, I think I just filled in the blanks. But I was like, are they talking about that like environmental girl or whatever that got into it with Andrew Tate?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, y'all. I'm an old soul, and I'm
Oh
an old
my
brain,
God.
apparently.
You spent too many years in Narnia.
True. That's very true. I think that's a very good misunderstanding, though, because I wanted to talk about that Andrew Tate story at some point. That was pretty great.
I mean, fair enough.
Okay, so we talked about, like, Higgs, your universe you want to live in is Narnia. Beth, which one did you want to live in?
I'm still thinking Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Oh, so not James Cameron.
No, not James Cameron, because if you want to be on Earth during James Cameron's universe, everything's terrible. And
True.
I'm not going to colonize another planet.
Wow, lame.
Despite what our ancestors did.
Too woke.
I would hate to be a non-bender, though, in that universe. I would definitely want to be a bender, and I would want to be an earthbender. I just always really like the idea of being able to terraform whatever I want.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Like, I want a pond in my backyard. I can just level it down. Oh my goodness, are HOAs a thing in the Avatar universe? Because I wonder if...
I hope they're not a thing in any of these universes, because that's going to bring it down, honestly.
Like the HOAs, like earthbenders can't terraform their yards.
That poor cabbage guy needs an HOA.
True. That's too modern of a concept. I don't think that would exist.
Yeah, I hope.
Although, didn't the world become more modern in Korra?
It did, and
I haven't watched Korra, so I don't know.
I like Korra. It's going back to no technology, though, in Seven Havens.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, so you're picking The Last Airbender. You've picked Narnia. Okay. The universe I have chosen to live in is the Willy Wonka universe.
Okay.
For two reasons. Okay, first one, the best, most amazing candy that you could ever experience in any world. Like, period. No matter what other, like, foods you could try in other universes, like, the candy in Willy Wonka is going to be, like, elite, okay? I mean, you got, like, Everlasting Gobstopper, you got those chocolate bars, like, I think it'd be pretty dope.
Okay.
Second reason I want to live there is it's a universe where karma actually exists.
Oh, that's a good point.
Everybody gets what they deserve in that.
Every kid who ends up dying gets their comeuppance.
They don't really die, but, you know, you think they might.
Yeah, they did. Let's be real.
No.
They totally died.
They did not die.
Have you not read the book?
No, I only saw the 2 movies.
Well, in the newer one, like the Johnny Depp one, they don't die.
Yeah, they show them walking out. But actually, a difference in the Johnny Depp version versus the book is Augustus Gloop is supposed to be squeezed thin.
Yep, I remember that. I read the book.
That's interesting.
I also read The Great Glass Elevator, the sequel.
Oh, I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah, I really think like the Willy Wonka universe, like there's the Oompa Loompas, and yeah, obviously there's some kind of weird colonial implications with that. But as far as like the universe is concerned, it seems like it's like they take it in a pretty fun way. You know, at least in that universe, when you enslave people, like they just make chocolate for you. It's, you know, and they seem to love it. So it's
They're cool with it.
it's a win-win, I
Well,
guess.
Willy Wonka's universe is on the cusp of solving world hunger with the gum.
That's true.
Do you think he'd be allowed, though?
What's that?
Do you think the government would allow him to produce this gum?
In this universe, probably.
Yeah, because he says it's specifically for people with little pocket money.
Well, Wonka's also super rich, so he could just distribute that like on his own. He probably doesn't even need the government to do that.
Wonka can lobby that
Well,
shit.
I feel like the government is going to want to prevent that because then they can't control people.
Yeah, but this isn't our universe. This is Willy Wonka.
Okay.
That's true.
Like, unless there's something like, unless you want to like, there's evidence in that universe that you could give to me that would suggest that, which is possible. It might be in there. Unless there's some evidence though from that universe specifically, we can't necessarily like take our own universe's logic like and put that in place there.
We know that capitalism is thriving based off Veruca Salt and Violet Beauregard's dad as the car salesman.
But they do get karma, so it's a good kind of capitalism.
Yeah.
If everybody gets what they deserve. I mean, I don't know if the karma only applies in Willy Wonka's factory. If there's like some magical like spell over that factory that makes it to where everybody who enters gets what they deserve. I don't know if that applies to the whole world, but
That's a good question.
if nothing else, like it's good candy. And even then, like, you know, you look at Charlie, he's supposed to be like the poorest of the poor. And even then, like his grandparents can all just hang out in bed. None of them have to work. They all seem to have enough cabbage to survive. Like if the poorest of the poor is still somehow just like getting to be lazy or whatever, then I mean, there is some benefit. I mean, Uncle Joe could, or not Uncle Joe, Grandpa Joe, like he literally can walk and dance. So clearly, like he's not crippled. Like he could be working for the family, but he's not. So
something I will say is you do have a fair point about the candy, because what does my universe have? Turkish Delight?
yeah, the Turkish Delight isn't Turkish Delight actually gross in real life?
Yeah, I hear it's not great.
But they make it sound really good in Narnia, though.
It's good enough to sell out your whole family, apparently.
Well, you got to think this was during World War II. You know, they were displaced from their homes.
They were living off of rations.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure some Turkish Delight was wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, have you seen the YouTube video? I can't think of the guy who made it, but it's the one where they say that Willy Wonka is in the same universe as Snowpiercer.
I have seen that, actually. So damn, maybe this isn't a fun kind of capitalism in this universe if that's the case. Although, I'll say this. My answer is still just the Willy Wonka universe. It's not proven that Snowpiercer is in there, but if Snowpiercer is in there, I might have to rescind that answer. But we're just going to go with the Willy Wonka thing, because I think for the most part, it's a pretty good universe to live in. I mean, if nothing else, like, yeah, it's got its flaws, but really good candy and good karma, I mean, to me, like, those are pretty big pluses. Plus, the conflicts that are in this Willy Wonka stories, like, it's not ever like, oh, there's like a war, or, you know, a famine or anything like, you know, anything like terrible like you deal with in like all these other universes. Like if you live in like the Lord of the Rings or the Star Wars universe, like there's just horrible wars all the time. Like,
Fair enough.
yeah, in Willy Wonka, there's, as far as I can remember, there's not really much fighting. Okay, well, I think we got some good answers on this, but I would say it is now time for us to roll into our main topic of today, which is Star Wars Andor on Disney Plus. It is a 2-season show. If you haven't heard of it, I would recommend you watch it. It's the best Star Wars we've gotten from Disney. I don't think y'all would argue with that.
I would argue that it is the best thing that we have gotten since Empire.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like, I'm not saying it's as good as Empire, but I'm saying it's the best thing that came out since Empire.
Yeah.
I would argue that as a piece of media, it's better than Empire. That it is the best. That it is better than Empire.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm not even kidding. But you could argue. A lot of people would say, "Oh, but it's not Star Wars."
Oh, it's Star Wars.
It is Star Wars, but it definitely feels different than that kind of Star Wars. And for that reason, I feel like you shouldn't really pit them against each other.
Here's what I don't get. Okay, so since we're just jumping into it, there is a lot of criticism online of Andor, and it's really just like butthurt Star Wars fans that are like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. They don't pull out a lightsaber. But my dude, I gotta say, like, Star Wars has jumped around tonally the entire time it's existed. Like, okay, so like Episode 4, New Hope, it's got definitely like kind of a lighthearted, kind of chill like vibe to it. Empire Strikes Back is a lot darker, and then Return of the Jedi at parts is just basically a children's movie with the Ewoks. Like, I mean, some of the moments in Return of the Jedi are just like absolutely just from a kids movie. Like, it's like Care Bears basically. But then in that same movie, you've got Princess Leia in a bikini, which is a little bit older. You know, I know it changed me as a young man. But then we go to the prequels, and Phantom Menace, half of it is them talking politics like it's Andor, and then the other half is like Jar Jar being even more childish than the Ewoks. And then like Attack of the Clones, that's like, I don't know, just a bad movie in general. I'll skip that one. Then Revenge of the Sith is like dark as hell. So, I mean, Star Wars goes all over the place. Rogue One existed before this too, and Rogue One is probably about as dark as Andor. I mean, maybe not exactly as dark, but it's the same kind of vibe because they lead into each other. And then, like, Solo is like a comedy, basically. And then, you know, the Star Wars sequels we don't talk about because those aren't real. And, you know, it's like Star Wars has gone all over the place. So I've never really understood that particular criticism of Andor. If you want to criticize it for being slow in its pacing, because it's kind of a slow burn, a la Better Call Saul kind of thing, you know, like it's one of those shows that is definitely like it takes time to get into, and it might not hook you right away because it is slow. But that's a fair criticism if you want to make that. Saying that it doesn't feel like Star Wars, though, is maybe underrepresenting what Star Wars is capable of as a franchise, in my opinion. I don't know. What do y'all think?
You bring up a good point. You know, the thing about Star Wars is it's about a galaxy far, far away. It's a very big place. So, of course, you're going to have room for all kinds of different types of stories.
Yeah, it goes around different genres. Like, there was that Skeleton Crew show. I didn't watch it, but it was a Disney Plus thing where it's basically like Stranger Things or The Goonies in the Star Wars universe. So that's a different
I watched
genre.
it.
Okay. Well, yeah, wouldn't you say that's a different kind of genre, but it still fits within the Star Wars universe?
Yeah, it was cute. I wouldn't say it was great, but I think if you have kids that you want to introduce to Star Wars, I actually think that would be great because it's not too serious. There was one scene that I remember was pretty dark that surprised me, and I can't remember what it was, but I just remember being like, oh, wow. But I guess, like you said with the galaxy, is there something for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the political commentary of things like Andor, and I love watching the lightsaber fight during Duel of the Fates. I like it all.
Yeah.
The sequels don't exist, but I like everything that it does.
Exactly.
Like, I can talk about the costume designing in Attack of the Clones, because I think it's great.
Yeah, I did a Star Wars like marathon over the last few months.
Oh, cool.
It was a lot of it was to coincide with Revenge of the Sith coming out in theaters again, and then Andor season 2 coming out. So what I did was I watched Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones at home, and then I went to go see Revenge of the Sith in theaters, which was really awesome, honestly. Great experience. Then I watched Solo, and then I watched both seasons of Andor, because Andor season 2 had finished by that point. Then I watched Rogue One, and then I watched the original trilogy. And even though like that particular marathon like goes in a lot of different directions, like I said, the tone is definitely all over the place. Like each film and series feels a little different. I feel like overall, if you look at the overall story from Phantom Menace all the way through Return of the Jedi, and include Andor in that and all those other things I mentioned, like it really does tell one big story of like this galaxy going from this representative like democratic republic to decaying into this authoritarian empire, and then eventually that empire being defeated. Spoiler alert from 1983. But it tells this whole story, and like, yeah, even though the prequels are a lot sloppier of a story, and there's a million things I would change about them because they're not the best films in the world, I will say they do set up perfectly like the type of universe that Andor exists in, and having that context going into Andor, I think is actually pretty cool because you understand, you actually know who the Emperor is as opposed to him just being this dude that's never seen. So I really do like the Star Wars media, that even if it's tonally different and even if it like contrasts a little bit, I like that it's still coming together and building like one big narrative. And watching that all in sequence as a marathon for me was very satisfying. Like I felt very satisfied watching the Emperor get destroyed and like the Empire falling apart in Return of the Jedi, because you see it all come together. And then when you have the context of Andor, you see like just how horrible this Empire was, and it means a lot more, in my opinion.
Dude, Andor makes watching the original trilogy so much better, specifically A New Hope.
Oh yeah,
because you know the thing about Star Wars when it first begins is they drop you right in the middle of this conflict. Mm-hmm. You know, like you got Luke having that one throwaway line that's like, "You fought in the Clone Wars," and then they made 3 other movies about it.
Oddly enough, the Clone Wars is barely in those movies, but hey, they made a whole TV show about it, so...
That is true. But anyways, and then you get to Luke destroying the Death Star for the first time. And when you watch it in the beginning, you see it as Luke's victory first and foremost. You know, he's the one that gets the medal in the end.
Oh, yeah.
But then you watch Andor, and you realize that Luke was standing on the shoulders of giants, and he had no idea.
Absolutely.
You know, because you look at Luthen, who is played by Stellan Skarsgård, who is this unsung hero who does so much at creating the rebellion as we know it today. Like, there is no rebellion without Luthen.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that what made watching the original trilogy interesting again after finishing Andor was that you realize the original trilogy is almost like, it's way more about like the story's main focus is way more about like, these are the adventures of Luke Skywalker and his friends. The war is kind of just like in the background for most of the story, which I mean makes sense because Star Wars, the original trilogy, really is like just the hero's journey. So it makes sense that Luke is the main focus. But what's different is like Andor, like Cassian Andor as a character, like he is the protagonist of that show, but the show is a lot more about like the rebellion and the war as a whole than it is really about him specifically as a character. But what's cool is that by getting to see behind the scenes of how the rebellion worked, it does make it a lot more satisfying. Like when you see Mon Mothma show up in Return of the Jedi, or when you see the rebellion finally win over the Empire, because it's like you never really get to see what happens with a lot of the characters from Andor by that point, but you just sort of assume like if they lived, then awesome, they get to, you know, live in the world that they were able to save. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's definitely what Rogue One was made to be. Mm-hmm. Kind of the bridge between the background and the foreground. We know, like you said, Luke's adventures, what he does for the rebellion, but we also know from opening crawl that something else is happening in the background. And we are going to focus on those people, those spoken of heroes in the rebellion.
What's really cool about Andor too is that, yeah, even though Cassian Andor is this main character, the show is about a bunch of different characters, and they're all really good. Like, there's no bad character in this show. I mean, you get Cassian, you get his on again, off again girlfriend Bix, you get Luthen, you get Deidre, the Imperial lady, you get the Gabe from The Office. What's his?
He does look like Gabe.
Cyril?
Yeah,
And his weird relationship.
his weird mommy issues. Like, and the best character of all, I'd say for last, was Mon Mothma. She's just like a small character in the Star Wars universe who got expanded massively in this story. And I thought her side plots were like always the best because she's never really in the action, but she's pulling the strings behind the scenes for so much of what's going on with the rebellion. And she's just such a compelling character. Like every scene she's in, like you just get a little bit of an insight into what she's thinking, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, like in the original trilogy, she's just the woman who goes, "Many Bothans died trying to get this message."
Exactly.
But no, in Andor, she's a full-on character. You see her get wasted at her daughter's wedding.
Yeah, definitely one of the funniest moments of the whole show.
I don't know if I consider it funny.
No, it was not funny. It was
It was the dance she was doing? How was that not
She
funny?
was literally drowning out her emotions, knowing that one of her childhood friends was being killed, so she could forward the plans of the rebellion. She's trying to literally drown out her feelings, to get rid of them, to feel numb, and, in this moment.
And the fact that her daughter is getting in an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood the context, but it was also funny. 'Cause the physicality of it was very funny. But things can be serious and be funny at the same time.
Fair.
Like, I think comedy is genuinely considered, like, in a lot of ways to be like kind of like laughing at misfortune, from afar. So,
Yeah.
like, it's very sad, but like the context of it is extremely sad. But for me, I thought it was funny just because of like the physicality of how she was doing it. But I think that made her more relatable as a character, that you could laugh and cry with this character at the same time for what she's going through.
I agree with what you say about comedy, but I just did not interpret anything from it as funny.
Yeah.
I just thought the choreography was very interesting and neat.
Yeah, well, art is subjective, I guess.
Art is life.
Well, I was really into the background with her and her daughter that stemmed even from season 1, as she's watching her daughter be kind of brainwashed by these traditional views of her homeworld, and she follows through with it. She tries to, kind of be like, well, I'd rather she didn't, but I'm not going to stop her from following these traditions, and it turns into her doing something she herself regretted, which was the arranged marriage to her current husband.
Mm-hmm.
But she is powerless to stop it and is able to use her daughter.
Yeah, she's able to use the arranged marriage to advance her agenda, which is simultaneously like shows how cutthroat and smart she is, but also just how tragic not just the background of her culture, but also just the current situation she found herself in. How even someone as powerful as she happens to be as a senator, she also is at the very mercy of these like societal factors and this like power struggle that is going on in the Empire. And I think what's cool about it is it's like you get to see just so many different sides of like the same kind of thing. It's like Andor is on the ground, usually doing all the fighting, and then you've got Luthen that's kind of like bridging the gap between, assigning Andor these missions while also like having to blend in on Coruscant with like the upper class like aristocrats. And then you got Mon Mothma, who's sort of the political actor that's involved in what's happening. And you got, like I said, with Deidre, where she's in the Empire and she's trying to like climb the corporate ladder almost in that type of scenario. And it shows like that even in the Empire, like there's people just trying to do their job, but also like they're selling their souls out just to like get ahead. And it's just so cool how it's like it breaks down all these different parts of like the power structures of that society in a way that you just never thought about when you were watching Star Wars. I mean,
absolutely. Something that I really like about Andor is the fact that there's this bureaucracy when it comes to fascism.
exactly.
Like, fascism isn't always like going down the streets with tanks. Like, a lot of times it's just through the most boring, mundane looking shit at the surface level.
Someone had to approve those tanks going through the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's extremely fascinating. And what's really cool is even though there's a lot of parallels between like what's happening with the Empire in that show and like real life with stuff we're dealing with right now, you could apply it to any like authoritarian regime like throughout history. Like they are very good about just like having it sort of apply to like where you could really apply it to any historical precedent, you know, and it would follow through.
Well, that's why the Gormans have French accents.
True. They should have done a musical number a la Les Mis.
When they start singing in the square during the protests, I was absolutely thinking about Les Mis.
Yeah, I hadn't even made that connection, but you're right. I could definitely see that connection with Les Mis, which is kind of funny. That's the thing too, is like you could really analyze every aspect of this show. I mean, cinematography, it's beautiful. It looks so much. I think it was like on a lower budget, but it looks so much better than most of the stuff that Disney makes with Star Wars.
It really does.
I think it has one of the highest budgets of any show created by Disney. Yeah.
Does it? Let me see if Wikipedia has it. Okay, so it says $650 million for the whole show's budget.
Well, are we comparing it to other shows or like all of the films as well?
Well, you can't compare it to movies because movies are going to get a bigger budget.
Okay.
Let's see. Mandalorian.
Oh, Mandalorian had a way smaller budget. 166 million for one season. What's
weird is that's actually surprising me. I assumed Andor had a smaller budget just because of the fact that I don't know, Disney didn't promote it as much really as at least maybe not like maybe season 2 they did, but season 1 I feel like didn't get yeah, Wikipedia told me the budget for Andor. It's not telling me the budgets for the other shows. What about Obi-Wan Kenobi? Can you find the budget for that somewhere?
Yeah, I'll look it up. Obi-Wan. I remember them talking about how the budget for season 2 was going to be so big and how he had to fight for it.
Oh, okay. So season 2's budget was really big. I wonder what season 1's budget was, though. You know what, though? It would be hard to compare, though, in certain ways. I guess if you break down it by episode, because Andor has longer seasons, so inevitably it's going to always have a bigger budget.
27 million per episode, so twice the budget of Mandalorian. And
that's
I'm
crazy.
So happy about that.
That's very surprising, though, because, I mean, at least in terms of marketing, I don't feel like they pushed out Andor nearly as much. Like, I feel like The Mandalorian everybody was talking about when it first came out, whereas Andor sort of had this, like, cult following that kind of built up. And, I mean, I don't even think it got as much, like, viewership as Mandalorian. Like, I think it was a little bit lower. But, I mean, hey, they chose the right budget, I guess, because I was not expecting that. But regardless of budget, though, I will say, like, if the budget was what allowed them to shoot on location instead of in front of that goofy green screen thing they got at Disney. Like,
oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is Mandalorian was done with that kind of new age screen they've got, and Andor did a lot of on-set location.
Yeah, which probably was more expensive, but man, like, if that's what was necessary, then it just looks so much better.
It looks so good. Because that's the thing. That's going to stand the test of time, too.
Absolutely. Looks great. It's going to hold up really well. But yeah, cinematography is great. All the acting, of course, is brilliant. And I mean, just, it was written so well. I do have one criticism of Andor. And I could definitely see this as a criticism that y'all may or may not agree with, and that's totally fine. But maybe it was just me being greedy. But genuinely, like, season 2, you could have split that in half at least and done 2 seasons with that. Like, them jumping ahead, like, so many years, like, there was just so much story there. Like, I want more Andor. I hate that they kind of, like, had to fast track the whole second season into, like, 4 or 5 years or whatever, because...
I actually agree with that.
I don't think that was... No, I think the plan... I don't think they were planning to do more. I don't think they were forced to fast track. I thought it was, like...
I actually did hear they were going to do 5 seasons, and each of those little arcs in season 2 were going to be a whole season, and then they actually... Yeah, they ended up combining it all into one season. I don't think it needed 5 seasons, but I would not have minded them doing, 3 seasons total or something.
I definitely did have the feeling of, at the end of season 2, just being like, that's it? No, give me more.
Yeah, because at the beginning of each arc, they would jump ahead a year, and I kept thinking like, oh man, like it would have been kind of cool to see some of the stuff that happened in that in between time. But also like it's a criticism that it's like that's a personal thing. I wouldn't dock the show for it though. I mean, everything they made was still really good, so I can't even. It's just me saying, hey, I want another season because it was really good. I wouldn't have minded watching 3 seasons instead of 2, but I was still very happy with what I got.
All right, pre-COVID, Tony Gilroy said Andor was going to have 5 seasons.
Yep,
And then
that's what I read.
it sounds like he himself, though, was fine with it trimming down.
Yeah.
I think he realized that, one, Diego Luna wasn't going to stay looking young forever.
He still didn't technically. He looks older than he does in Rogue One.
Well, I think the idea was that you can condense it enough for the story instead of drawing it out, because an issue with Star Wars is they take an idea and if they stretch it out too long, you lose what the point of it is. Mm-hmm. The sequel trilogy.
All I'm saying is I would like 3 seasons instead of 2 in my hypothetical fantasy world, but I was also fine with 2. I don't want 5 seasons of it.
I would rather have 2 fantastic seasons than risk there being 3 seasons and it not being as great.
I just trust the people making it. I think no matter how many seasons they did, this particular crew would have probably done a pretty good job with it. But, I mean, hey, based on how long season 2 took, maybe it was best to condense it just from the standpoint of I would have hated to have to like wait 3 more years for season 3 or something. So
Yeah, and I do think that was Tony's decision and not Disney to make it 2.
I heard it was Disney, but I don't know. I'd have to, or Lucasfilm, like I'd have to, we could look it up real quick. I don't know that it matters necessarily, but it's definitely a weird situation from the standpoint of like, now that this is over, I don't know what Disney's going to do with Star Wars. Like, I don't care about whatever they're going to make next. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to watch it.
You have a point.
Like, this is the first time it's really felt like Star Wars is kind of over. Like, obviously there will still be like stuff that comes out and I might watch it if I'm interested, but for the most part, like, I don't know, especially after doing my marathon that included Andor, like, I don't know, like, it feels like the story's complete.
When we watched Andor, I did have this feeling of this is the first time in a long time that I actually feel something for Star Wars. This is the first time in a long time that I've actually cared, and I'm terrified that it is the last time. I hope it's not. Mm-hmm. I really hope that we get some really good storytelling that you genuinely care about, and not just because like, oh, we put this character in front of your face that you like. Don't you remember him? To quote South Park. Like, and yeah, you can make the argument like, oh, Andor is just a prequel to a prequel, but man, did they put so much time, energy, creativity, and just heart into it that you just don't see from Star Wars, and I worry that we're not going to see it again.
I think Andor is going to make Disney care more about the reception, especially after audience, we didn't like Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, even Ahsoka fell flat, which was sad for me. Mandalorian season 3 fell flat, which was also sad because I really wanted to see Mandalore, and I got that, and I was happy, but I need more.
For me, like I said, I never finished the Clone Wars. I never got super into it. I liked what they were doing with the Clone Wars, don't get me wrong. Maybe that wasn't my Star Wars. Like, maybe that's not what I like. But like Dave Filoni, who does the Clone Wars, he was in charge of a lot of like the story for like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, like all those. And I don't know, like to me, watching a lot of his live action stuff, just like the first couple seasons of Mandalorian were good, but after that point, everything they pushed out was just kind of like, okay, well, I don't have this background of watching the Clone Wars, so I don't really care about this. And it just felt like watching a lot of filler, and it didn't feel like it really fleshed out anything that I cared about with Star Wars. Whereas something like Andor really like was just good on its own, and it also happened to enhance the story of Star Wars. And you could watch Andor and not have seen Star Wars and still pretty much get what it's about. but you can also watch it as a Star Wars fan and enjoy like how it fleshed out the rebellion and the Empire and all that. So I don't know. I feel like if they make more Star Wars content, it needs to be something that has like heart and soul behind it and is its own thing and isn't just made to fill out Wikipedia articles about characters and stuff that I don't care about.
In regards to Dave Filoni, you know the scene in Spaceballs where Darth Helmet is playing with the action figures? I feel like Dave Filoni has taken the action figures of his Clone Wars and Rebels characters and is like, I'm playing with them in live action now.
That is the best point that I've ever even heard, like, that I just visualized in my head, and I'm just picturing him as like a grown man doing this, and I'm cracking up so badly. Like
He's wearing the cowboy hat while he's playing with him.
But it's like a bigger cowboy hat because it's supposed to be Darth Helmet. It just engulfs him.
it's the Doug Dimmadome cowboy hat that just keeps going up.
That's better.
Well, before we move on, is there anything else y'all would like to say about Andor before we go to commercial break?
You know, if you had given me the synopsis of The Acolyte, which is another Star Wars show, and the synopsis of Andor before season 1 had aired, and asked me which one I was going to declare as the best Star Wars, never in a million years would I have looked at the plot of Andor and said, oh, this is going to be the best Star Wars that ever came out of the history of forever.
And Acolyte ends up being the worst one.
I could not finish Acolyte. I really didn't like it. Andor is I hope it's not a lightning in a bottle. I hope there's more content that is just as good and hopefully maybe better. But I don't know. It's even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think you should give Andor a try. It is amazing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Andor was just so unexpected. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys have watched Red Letter Media, but they reviewed a lot of the Star Wars stuff that came out. And when Rogue One came out, they referred to Cassian Andor as Guy McAccent.
Guy McAccent.
Because they didn't think he had much of a personality, and they only remembered him by his accent. And I remember when Andor got announced as a Star Wars show, I was like, Guy McAccent is getting a show? What? Like, I was so confused.
You do have a very good point in that when I watched Rogue One, I did not care about a single character in that movie.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, like, Rogue One is better now because of Andor, because, like, that context makes that movie... I mean, because I rewatched it right after Andor, and the context of Andor really does make Rogue One... Like, it's still got a lot of issues, but overall, like, that movie makes a lot more sense when you have the context of everything surrounding it. Like, when you know who Krennic is, and you know who Cassian Andor is, and... you know, Mon Mothma's backstory. Like, I don't know, like, it definitely, what's his name? Forrest Whitaker. Why am I blanking on his name? Saw Gerrera. Like, that was a character who I thought was really stupid in Rogue One, but then in Andor, they make him, like he's kind of just a cool, crazy dude. And knowing that about him made me like his character a lot more in Rogue One. So... yeah, I don't know, like, the fact, though, that, yeah, they basically took a character who, like, Cassian Andor was only cool because he had this funny robot sidekick. And then the robot sidekick is only in, like, 2 episodes of the show. And K2SO is not even, like, he's cool when he shows up in Andor, but he's not a focus of the show. They just kind of throw him in there because, like, you kind of have to because he, you know, shows up with Cassian later on. And I liked his little origin story or whatever. That was pretty cool. But yeah, they really took something that nobody had any faith in and made gold out of it. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
So we will be back after commercial break, and we'll be discussing authoritarianism and how it relates to Andor. We'll be back. Mom, Dad, I think I'm depressed.
Well, son, I'm really glad you came to us for help. You know, Nancy's son was depressed. You know, the gay one. Do you think you might be gay?
Son, you don't need therapy. Back in my day, we fought through our problems. In war!
Introducing Boomer Help, the shittiest advice straight from your parents.
Bobby, why don't you go outside? You just need some exercise.
We got our ass beat if we even thought we was sad. Bitch, I'll give you something to cry about.
Pussy said, what?
Boy, you don't even get up at 5 a.m. like I do.
Oh, bless your heart. I'll be praying for you.
It's because he's not going to church.
Robert.
Now, son, you know you're white, right? So
we're bad parents then.
You know there are children in Africa that have it way worse than you, right?
We'll keep talking after I come back from buying cigarettes.
Depression is something the communists came up with in the Cold War.
Tough it up, Pipsqueak, and grow a pair.
Son, I fucking hate you.
Here at Boomer Help, we'll help you see past your mental troubles and bury any unwanted feelings you have deep down. After all, it's all in your head.
And we are back. Okay, so with Andor, there are a lot of themes of authoritarianism, which, depending on how you feel nowadays, may or may not apply to the world you live in. But there's a lot of really cool quotes from Andor. Like, there are more cool quotes in this show than like any other show I can think of. Like, other shows like Breaking Bad might have like a "say my name," like little quippy quotes that are fun. But Andor's got like paragraph quotes, like speeches,
Like entire poems.
yeah. So we're gonna break some of these down and talk about them a little bit, and just sort of how they apply to the real world when you're dealing with authoritarianism and resistance and whatnot.
Oh God.
What happened?
I was looking at what's at the bottom of the Google Doc.
Oh, that's kind of hot. We'll get to that when we actually let's talk about it right now. So I think Beth put the Jar Jar kissing scene at the bottom of this list of quotes that we compiled on Google Docs.
Yeah, I did that when we were talking about it.
Okay, well, you've proven your point that is something that's real. I wasn't sure if you were just messing with me, but yeah, Jar Jar is kissing a alien that. What species is that? That's not a Gungan, is it? Gungan, is it?
No, it's not a Gungan.
Does that count as bestiality?
I think it's interspecies. You need to get with the times.
Are there interspecies? Are there other interspecies couples in Star Wars?
Yeah, there's in Rebels, you've got Hera and
Oh yeah.
and oh my goodness, he's literally my favorite. No, he used to be my favorite Jedi. He's not my favorite Jedi anymore. What's his name?
Kanan? Isn't his name Kanan or something?
Yes, it's Kanan.
I didn't even watch Rebels. I don't know how I knew that. I have random Star Wars knowledge in my brain.
My favorite Jedi, by the way, is Cal Kestis.
Hey.
Oh, hey, from Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, I think he's great.
And shameless.
That is true. He was the gay little brother.
I love that's what you reduce him to. Yeah, he was the gay little brother.
Okay, in season 1, his whole personality is the fact that he's gay, okay?
And a little brother.
Yeah, exactly.
The gay brother.
I said what I said.
Yeah. Anyway, to get back on track to the Andor quotes, do y'all want to, let's see. So the first one we got is from Mon Mothma's speech, and she says, basically, like, the distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. So basically the death of truth is what she's talking about in this speech. And I mean, we do live in a postmodern world, a post-truth world where you can kind of say whatever you want, and if that's the truth you want to live, then no one's stopping you nowadays.
Well, look at the way social media algorithms work nowadays. Like, say you're on TikTok or Instagram Reels, because that's what I use because I'm a fucking dinosaur.
Better than Facebook Reels.
True. But, the death of truth, I feel like, is something that we really deal with nowadays because, the algorithm works in a certain way that if you think a certain way, it feeds you everything that you automatically want to hear.
Yeah.
And you get caught up in these rabbit holes because it just feeds into itself like this infinite loop.
Yeah, it feeds you things that may or may not even be true, but it's almost like the algorithm is like, all right, here's something that you want to be true. That's good enough, right? Like, yeah, it's tough, but it's definitely relevant to our time now, but also like we were saying before, it's like this could apply to any point in history. I mean, at least nowadays, like you have a lot of options for like proofreading things and for fact checking. Obviously, yeah, maybe your fact check is not correct, but there's a lot of resources nowadays that you can at least pull from if you want to fact check something. I mean, throughout most of human history, I assume if the emperor just said it, then are you gonna like go read a book and figure out that they were lying? I mean, I don't know, probably not. So
goes back to the Catholic Church, oh, I'm reading all of this in Latin. You don't know Latin, so you don't know what it says.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah, the elite used to use their status to like have access to more like intellectual properties, more material, more like intellectual stuff, and that used to be like shielded from the masses, and now it's like you can access it anytime you want. But they've trained us to be so stupid we don't even care. Like that's the crazy thing about the time we live in now is it's like all the information you could ever want is at your fingertips, but you'd rather watch that YouTube video of someone being totally pwned.
It's like when you look at articles and they all say so-and-so slammed so-and-so, and you like look at the article.
It's so annoying.
And really it was just one person like tweeted something a little like clapbacky, but it was definitely not a slam.
Mm-hmm.
It's so exaggerated.
Also, like, you're only going to think that person totally pwned them if you agree with what they said.
Exactly.
If they said something that you think is stupid, you're going to be like, no, you didn't totally pwn them. You just said the earth was flat. In a very confident manner.
You were just very confidently incorrect.
Exactly. Hey, being confidently incorrect can get you far in life, so...
Being confidently incorrect can get you the presidency.
Hey, you say what you say. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm putting that shit on the record right now.
On the record. Higgs is like, I do not 100% agree with the current president. So based. So the next quote is, it's a much shorter one than the previous one. It's, rebellions are built on hope. This one actually started in Rogue One, and I guess Andor did this cool thing where they kind of like went back and they showed you the background of why Cassian tells Jyn Erso this quote, and then it's like a hotel bellhop that tells him this.
Like, of all people.
Of all people.
It really goes to show that the smallest person can ignite quite the flame in the rebellion.
Yeah. It's really cool.
What's that stupid quote that they have in Rise of Skywalker that's like, we are the spark that will ignite the flame that will burn the flame of the First Order or some shit like that.
Oh gosh, was I inadvertently quoting Rise of Skywalker? I
Low
feel
key.
like I should leave.
What's this Rise of Skywalker you speak of?
that didn't happen.
Did they make another movie? I thought Mark Hamill didn't want to come back and do anymore, so they just didn't. Huh, weird. All right. Let's see. Higgs, you want to read this next quote?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the quote by Luthen Rael, played by Stellan Skarsgård, a.k.a. The Fat Man from Dune.
The Baron?
Yes, the Baron.
Harkonnen?
Palpatine in the Dune world.
Damn it. First Donut Boy, now this shit.
Gotta do your homework, Higgs. All right.
I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
It's a badass quote.
It's such a good quote, and it really encapsulates Luthen's life. He did all of these acts of, I'm be real, borderline terrorism. Like, this man blows up a ship at one point in like a flashback scene.
Oh yeah.
And he dies alone. Spoiler alert. He dies alone, but at the same time, without him, you don't have the rebellion. And so while he is not around to see the sunrise, as he puts it, because of him, somebody gets to enjoy that sunrise, even if he doesn't.
It's literally the last shot of the show is the sunrise that Andor didn't get to see is his child.
It's like the ultimate selfless act of sacrificing yourself for the greater good so that other people can live in a better world than you're stuck in. And I think what is really profound about that quote is sort of the admission that, like, if you're someone who is rebelling against an authoritarian regime, like, essentially you are very selfless from just the standpoint of, like, you're giving up what could easily be just like a fairly normal life. You know, yeah, maybe you'll suffer under the authoritarian regime, but you'll at least get to live under it and survive. You know, essentially by sacrificing yourself for the greater good, you don't even, I mean, you might die, you'll die and you'll never even know whether or not you win.
Yeah.
And like, that's got to be bittersweet just to experience that. So that's some deep shit right there. That's one of the quotes that for me made me say we have to include some of these quotes.
Yeah.
Beth, do you want to read the next one?
The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we... Sorry, this is not... I think there was a grammar error. What typo? That's it, when we're asleep. It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight, and maybe it's true. Maybe fighting is useless. Perhaps it's too late. But I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting those bastards from the start. Fight the Empire.
And give the context of who says that and what happens at that point in the show.
Yeah. So that's Marva. That's Andor's adopted mom. Like, she adopts him when he's a kid. And in this point, she's already passed on. This is her
hologram
speech at her own funeral. Yeah, hologram. She recorded this for people to view at her funeral, which is a beautifully shot scene in the Andor season 1. It's at the very end, and it's really chilling. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because that, you know, to quote the movie that doesn't exist, the spark that lights the flame that sets off the kerosene that burns down the gasoline that burns down the house that the Empire lived, whatever, you know. This is the spark. Like, this speech right here is covered the spark that, like, really does start off the rebellion at the end of season 1, because the show very much, like, takes place at, like, sort of the early stages of the rebellion. Like, the rebellion is not at this point in the show what it becomes in the original trilogy. So you could really, like, yeah, tie a lot of that to some of these early speeches of what sort of set off the rebels. And, you know, it's definitely meaningful because she died fighting for what she believed in. And I think it's a really great way to end season 1, because in season 1, Cassian is not for the cause. He's just, like, he's like a rebel without a cause. Like, he's just doing his own thing, fighting whoever gets in his way. He does not care about the rebellion. He doesn't care about the greater good. He just cares about himself. Like, he's very selfish in season 1. And a lot of the events that happen in season 1, including, we didn't even mention how awesome the whole prison sequence is.
Oh, that is so good from season 1.
With Andy Serkis. That's season 1, so we didn't even, like, that's so far back, but, like, yeah, that's incredible. That whole sequence. But, like, you know, like, there's a lot that happens in season 1 that makes him care more about the rebellion and more about the cause. But this is a good way to end it because it's his mother basically, like, giving the green light of, like, fight the Empire. This is not something you can comfortably live under. And, you know, it just sort of shows that it's more worth it being brave and fighting the Empire in the moment versus just putting your head down and hoping things will get better for you. Because in Cassian's case, it didn't.
Yeah.
He got imprisoned for doing nothing. Like, under their regime.
He was a tourist.
In Space Miami.
He was just a brown dude in Miami, and they picked him up. I mean, that's actually scarily accurate to, you know, things that are happening right now. So
No due process either.
what was it? They gave him 6 years or something?
I don't remember.
Well, they gave him, I think it was 6 years, but then they find out that no one ever gets out. Yeah. They keep adding time.
Yeah, and thank God that Andy Serkis got to have a good role in Star Wars. That was a redemption that we needed.
Well, it's
He
his
didn't
only.
stop at Snoke.
Wait, no, it's his only role in Star Wars. What are you talking? When was he in Star Wars?
Well, yeah, I meant because he never got another role in Star Wars, so I'm glad that he got a good one. If he was only going to get one,
Right. That's exactly.
All right, so our last quote that we're going to go through is from this character Nemec, and he's just this young dude that's part of the rebellion, very early on in season 1, and unfortunately he doesn't last very long in the story. But what's special about him is that he is this very young dude that shouldn't really. He's almost sort of too young in certain ways to be so sure of his own beliefs, because a lot of times young people join these causes not so much because of their actual principles. A lot of times they just join it because they want to fit in with their friends, or they want to rebel against their parents, or whatever structures exist around them. But Nemec really believes in the cause, and I think that's he's got real principles, and the man just he has a manifesto that is just in the show. So we'll read a few little highlights. We can take turns reading some, but the first one he says is the pace of repression outstrips our ability to understand it. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident, but they got to fight on their hands. And that one is just really good from the standpoint of he's explaining how the Empire justifies how they do their horrible things.
Yeah, at a certain point, you commit so many atrocities that the general population becomes numb to it. And that's sort of the point in fascist regimes is, you can only focus on one thing at a time. Because here's the thing, people are busy. People have jobs. People go to school. People have families, this, that, and the other. And they don't have the time to focus on politics and what the government is up to, that you can only focus on so much at a time.
Yep.
And so by flooding the zone, you make it so that the general population just flat out can't keep up.
It's very true. Do y'all want to read some more highlights from his manifesto? We don't have to go through the whole thing, but maybe each of y'all could pick one or two that you like.
Yeah, we pasted the whole manifesto, which I also want to say is the manifesto is from season 1, but you find out at the end of season 2 that this manifesto has spread. People are hearing it, and they don't know who it's from, but it's already making an impact, and the Empire knows there's no stopping it at this point.
Why don't you each pick one more, and then we can move on? So just pick which ones you like.
Yeah, I see the one that I like.
All right, you can go ahead.
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. And I think that's an important, almost optimistic thing to think about. In order to keep the population down, there needs constant reinforcement. It's not built on anything real. It's a house of cards that can easily be blown down.
Definitely, yeah. I would say so too, because it's almost like no government, no authoritarian government has actual complete control. I mean, that's impossible. They can't literally control everything that you do, but they want to make sure that they have this image that they project of power and control. And yeah, that can easily be taken down when, the emperor has no clothes and, the people see that government for what it is.
And I think that's what's so important to kind of plug another piece of media. I think that's what's so important about South Park as of late is, you can get mad at fascism all you want, but if that fascist regime likes it when you're mad at them, it's not going to help. What really helps is if you ridicule them.
Yeah, you just got to make them look silly and show they have a small penis.
Literally.
All right, Beth, do you want to read your quote or your section of the manifesto?
Yeah. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause. And I picked this quote because it shows that it's the little people throughout that are resisting that makes the whole of the rebellion. The Empire is blind to the fact that its fascism is causing people to feel... hold on. I got it. My brain is like wrapping this around.
Yeah, you're good.
When you are under an oppressive system, you fight back. It's natural. And I think that that's with the freedom is a pure idea. You want that freedom. It comes naturally to you. And so when you are oppressed, you will start to fight back no matter how small that is.
Yeah.
And as a society, if all of you are doing that, then you can enact real change.
Absolutely. I just love the statement of freedom as a pure idea because of the fact that clearly for whatever reason we humans have free will as far as we know, and anything that restricts or conforms that, or distorts that free will into something that is not free, like we naturally do push back on that. And that's across any kind of authoritarian regime, across any kind of restriction. I mean, we just have that impulse. And I think, especially in America, because the whole idea of freedom is just, given to us from a very young age. Like we're told that, we live for freedom and all that. Like I really do think that it's just sort of like in our very DNA that we just feel this need to have freedom of expression and like freedom to do things as long as they're not harmful to others. And it's just a more optimistic way to view humanity. Like I think viewing freedom as like the natural state that we should have is optimistic, because in theory, if freedom is a good thing, then that means you give people the freedom to do what they want. And ideally, yeah, they're going to make mistakes, but it's better than oppressing them. And I think that authoritarianism and repressing people's desires, like that is a very pessimistic system to live under, because the very idea is that, oh, if you give people freedom, they're going to only do bad things. And we don't want people to have the freedom to do bad things. So we have to treat them like they're little kids, and you've got to just, no, you're stepping out of line, stop, So it's, I don't know. I really like that idea of just like, that we're meant to be free.
Yeah.
And it's, anything that goes against that is unnatural to our very like existence as humans. Okay. Well, was there anything else y'all wanted to add to this topic before we go?
I can't think of anything. Oh, there actually was one thing.
Okay. Go for it, Higgs.
Is that even the smallest acts of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And I said this towards the middle of our podcast, but I feel like it bears repeating. Yeah, there are the Luke Skywalkers who sort of get all the glory, but the Luthans of the world also are important. The ones that you don't hear about, the ones that go unsung, the ones who don't get the glory. You can do any act of resistance, whether it's boycotting certain companies or going out and protesting. There are so many things that you can do to push rebellion forward that isn't glamorous like Luke Skywalker, but it still needs to be done.
Definitely. We all act as a collective, so even though we all, in theory, wish that we could be Luke Skywalker and, yeah, I'm the guy that blew up the Death Star, and I'm the guy that caused the Emperor to get thrown into a pit, and he never returned. That was the last they ever heard of the Emperor. That was it. He never came back. We all want to be that guy that does, or gal, that does this, like, big, epic, heroic act that saves everyone. But in reality, like, at best, most of us get to be Cassian Andor or Luthen, so maybe take some pride in that. Not everybody gets to be the star of the show, but you're always the protagonist in your own life, so maybe just make sure that in that life you're, pursuing justice for the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been a very lively discussion. Thank you both for being here with me. And next episode, we will see the return of Moose.
All right.
Moose will be back and bolder than ever. But thank you, Beth, for coming on as a guest again. You've done a great job filling in.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, whenever there's another like adult sci-fi piece of media you want to talk about, apparently that's what I'm here for.
That's your niche.
That is, yeah.
They just got to make Doctor Who for adults now. Because whatever they're making now is not that. All right. Well, thank you all for being a part of this. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back in the next episode. I'm JT Dubs.
I'm Higgs.
I'm Beth.
Thank you for listening to Art Equals Life. Peace out.